Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to High Media TV. I am your host, Evan from High Media TV, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to my little black book, the show where I ramble into a microphone for an indeterminate amount of time and you listen for some reason. So, I want to talk about Tylenol, specifically acetaminophen, which apparently is the newly found rather cause of autism, according to RFK Jr. The man missing a part of his brain because a worm ate it, who looks and sounds like the sickest man in America. I'm not saying Trump is in great shape, but at least even post stroke, he looks a lot more put together than fucking RFK does. But I digress. When it comes to the idea that Tylenol is the cause of autism instead of, complications from fevers during pregnancy, in early stages of pregnancy, which, Tylenol can treat. It's a chicken and the egg thing, right? Like, realistically, the fact that you have a fever during the early stages of presidency probably means that you're going to have some complications. Now, to alleviate that, people will usually take Tylenol. It is the equivalent of saying, you know, oh, lightning struck this tree. God must be mad. Without just acknowledging just lightning struck it, and that's it. People refuse to listen to like consider Occam's razor. The fact that the simplest answer is usually the correct one. But what do I know? I'm just another yuppie on the internet. That being said, when it was announced that Tylenol was like acetaminophen was the source of autism, I couldn't help but immediately think, I can see it. And the reason I say I can see it, ladies and gentlemen, is because have you been around blue collar men? Ladies and gentlemen, have you been around men that work demanding jobs or trade work of some sort? Are you really going to sit here and tell me that all of those bona fide, thoroughbred, autistic as hell men aren't autistic? The men that pop two Tylenol with or Advil with their coffee every morning and then eat that shit like Skittles throughout the rest of the day. Come now. That's why for like a half a second I was like, you know what? That might have a little bit of merit. I'm not saying he's right. I'm not saying it's correct, but like I see the vision. I see the vision. I can see the vision. Because I don't know about you, but like some of the blue collar, like working class men that I've met that do heavy lifting for a living, like they got a touch of the tism. They do have a touch of the tism. So I can understand and even empathize with that position. But no, Tylenol use during pregnancy and Tylenol use period does not cause autism. Fevers in early stages of pregnancy can cause it, and along with other potential complications. But no, it doesn't cause it. That being said, I do want to acknowledge that this hyper fixation on autism is There are worse things than having an autistic kid, you know what I mean? Like there are objectively worse things. There are objectively worse things than having a kid with autism. You could have a kid who is annoying or gets no bitches or, you know, likes black licorice. There are many, many worse things than your child having autism. And I think that the dehumanization of autistic people is prevalent and frustrating, needless to say the least. But that even so, I feel like this is going to be. I question why they had to pick Tylenol. And here's the thing: they say Tylenol because they have a hard time at pronouncing acetaminophen. Hell, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right because I'm a fucking Neanderthal. But point is that they could have. I'm surprised they didn't pick like some kind of like fucking hormonal thing that pregnant women use during pregnancy or some other nonsense like that. That they could somehow tie to like trans people or leftism. No, they picked one of the most ubiquitous, widely used drugs on the planet, and coincidentally, the only drug that pregnant women can use as a painkiller of some sort. Oh, I don't know. I think by and large that this is this is obviously going to go to court. This is like an easy W, like defamation seat for I think it's Johnson and Johnson that owns Tylenol. Who owns Tylenol? Uh, It is Kenvue, which is a spun off consumer health business, which is also owned by Johnson. So it's Johnson and Johnson. Okay, cool. But yeah, like it's that's gonna be a just another thing that's the Trump administration is gonna get locked up with in court. But I think that if this wasn't happening in tandem and as a contributor to the objective downfall of the United States as a country and the complete like regression we are feeling as a people. I think this would be objectively fucking funny. This would be so funny. This would be the funniest thing. Everything in this administration would be so funny if it wasn't happening to our country. Like if this shit was like happening in the UK, and I was like, I would be eating this up day by day, play by play. It would be the funniest thing in the planet because it didn't affect me, but it does affect me, and I am an American, so when as an American, if some shit doesn't affect me, I don't really give a fuck about it. The tip that is the American way. You know that this is reality. This is how this is how it is. Oh God, we're so fucked. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to me yap. This is another chapter close in my little black book. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If you're listening on YouTube, please consider hyping the video up. Appreciate it immensely. If you're listening on wherever you get your pods, if there's an ability to rate the episode, rate the damn episode. We appreciate you. And if you want to listen to even more content by us, you can go to himedia.gg/pods or wherever you get your pods and find a plethora of different what's it called? Podcasts. Yeah, sorry, it's early. I'm tired where that you can enjoy. Also, if and only if you have the scratch to do so, please consider subscribing on either our Ko-Fi or buying a Twitch sub. Doing so gives you an access to a crap ton of perks on our Discord that I think you'll really, really enjoy. Um, I need to go drink coffee or something. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful rest of your day. I've been Evan from HIMediaTV, and thank you so very much for watching.